I never believed in miracles until an unexpected twist changed my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The storm raged outside, thunder crashing like the end of the world. Wind whipped through the trees, howling with a desperation that matched my own. I stood there, heart pounding, staring at the splintered papers scattered across my kitchen table. My dreams, my plans, everything I thought I knew suddenly twisted into nothingness. My hands trembled as I tried to gather the shards of my life. I could still hear my mother's voice echoing in my mind, always saying, "You have to believe, Emma. Miracles can happen." But what kind of miracle leaves you standing in the wreckage of your own hopes? In that moment, the silence that followed the storm felt suffocating. I was utterly alone. My best friend, Sarah, had always been my anchor, but she was miles away. I missed her laughter, her warmth. She wouldn't understand this mess. I could already hear her concerned voice. "Emma, you need to let it go. Just move on." But how could I? The weight of disappointment pressed heavily on my chest. I felt like I was drowning. Then, a flash of movement caught my eye. A shadow flitted past the window. My heart raced again. Was it just the storm playing tricks on me? Or was it something more? I opened the door, forcing myself into the chaos outside. Rain lashed against my face, soaking me instantly. And there it was, a small, glossy object nestled in the mud. I could hardly breathe. I reached down, my fingers trembling as they brushed against the silky surface. It was a pendant, silver, shimmering even through the muck. I picked it up, feeling a pulse of energy surge through me. The moment I touched it, the world around me seemed to shift. Colors brightened. The storm lessened. For a split second, I was filled with hope. But was it real? Was I imagining it? My mind raced back to my mother's tales of enchanted things that changed lives. Was this pendant my miracle? Or just a cruel trick of fate? I held my breath, unsure of what I had stumbled upon, and what it could mean for me. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The rain kept pouring, relentless and heavy, each drop a reminder of the tempest that resided not only in the skies, but within me. As I stood there, fingers wrapped around the pendant, I felt an unsettling mix of hope and trepidation. What was I supposed to do with it? I trudged back into the house, water dripping from my clothes, my heart still racing. I set the pendant on the table, mud-streaked and glimmering, like a secret waiting to be uncovered. As I dried off, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. Was this really a miracle? My mother had always believed in the extraordinary, in the kind of magic that transformed lives. Could this simple piece of jewelry carry the weight of my dreams? My phone buzzed on the counter, breaking the spell surrounding the pendant. It was Sarah. I contemplated ignoring her message, the embarrassment of my current situation weighing heavily on me. But something in her words tugged at my heart. "I'm worried about you. Please let me know you're okay." I took a deep breath and, against my better judgment, tapped out a reply. "Just dealing with some stuff. I'll be all right." The silence that followed felt heavier than before. I wanted to reach out, to pull her into my mess and let her help me sort through the chaos, but a part of me resisted. I didn't want to burden her with my failure. Hours passed, and the rain began to slacken. The storm outside was calming, but the storm within me still raged. I picked up the pendant again, and while it was undeniably beautiful, it felt like a weight rather than a gift. There had to be a reason I'd found it, yet every instinct screamed that it was too good to be true. That evening, after countless anxious thoughts, I finally decided to research the pendant online. Perhaps I could locate its origin, understand if it held any real significance. I found myself scrolling through pages of folklore and stories about enchanted objects. Some tales described them bringing good fortune, while others warned of the cost attached to such magic. My heart raced with every new revelation, a flicker of excitement battling my lingering despair. But just as overwhelmingly intriguing was a comment on one of the threads. Someone had shared their own experience. "Sometimes, The real magic is not in the object itself, but in what you discover about yourself when you embrace the unknown. Tears blurred my vision. The idea that I could transform this chaos into something meaningful was both empowering and terrifying. Perhaps this was my opportunity to redefine my narrative, to take control of my destiny. The next morning, I ventured out to the community center, driven by a flicker of hope that the pendant might mean more than I had realized. The center was bustling with activity, and as I entered, I felt a wave of warmth wash over me. It was a place filled with laughter, art, and the sound of community, a stark contrast to my recent isolation. As I walked through the halls, glancing at the various art classes and workshops, I spotted a familiar face. Nora, a kind woman I had met during a past craft fair, was setting up an exhibition. "Emma, I'm so glad to see you. How have you been?" Her warm smile ignited something within me. Moments stretched as we chatted, laughter replacing the weight of my worries. I spoke about my recent upheaval as she listened intently, her eyes shimmering with understanding. "You know, sometimes it's in the darkest moments when we discover the brightest parts of ourselves," she said, her voice gentle. Just as I felt a spark of connection igniting, the sound of laughter burst into the hallway. A group of children came barreling in, carrying colorful drawings and warm cookies, their energy infectious. They momentarily distracted me from my thoughts of despair and filled the air with joy. And then, as if in slow motion, one of the children, an exuberant little girl with wild curls, rushed towards me, her drawing clutched in her tiny fists. "Look, I made this for you. It's a sunny day with a rainbow." Tears prickled my eyes as the child unfolded her masterpiece, a vibrant crayon. Sketch splashed across the paper. "Thank you," I whispered, taken aback by her unexpected kindness. Holding the drawing close, I felt an overwhelming sense of warmth. Maybe hope wasn't lost after all. Maybe these moments of light could coexist with my struggles. As I waved goodbye to Nora and the children, I stepped outside, the world shimmering after the storm. But as I glanced down at the pendant in my hand, I faltered. Something felt off. Why had it pulled me here? Was it a simple coincidence that led me to this moment, or was it a sign I was meant to uncover something deeper? And then, just as my mind was racing with possibilities, a dark figure caught my eye in the distance. A man stood shadowed under a tree, his gaze fixed on me, a tight expression etched on his face. Something about him felt dangerously familiar. As my heart raced again, I could only wonder if the true storm was just beginning. The air felt charged with an unseen energy as I met the man's gaze. My heart raced, a wild cacophony of confusion and fear echoing in my chest. Who was he? Where had I seen those eyes before? The sense of familiarity gripped me, coiling tight like a noose. With every passing second, my instinct urged me to run, but my feet felt rooted in the ground. The moment stretched between us, the world around me fading into the background. And then, as if pulling me from a trance, he stepped forward, breaking the spell. "Emma," he called softly, his voice a mixture of warmth and bewilderment. "It's been a long time." I squinted against the fading light, searching his face for answers that danced just beyond my reach. "Who are you?" I managed to stammer, my voice barely more than a whisper. "Ethan," he replied, and just like that, recognition washed over me. Ethan, the boy I'd once known. A flicker of laughter and light before the darkness of my past pulled us apart. Memories surged, summer days filled with carefree adventures, shared secrets, and a bond that had felt unbreakable until life intervened. "But you went away," I said, my heart grappling with a cocktail of joy and disbelief. The news of his family's sudden move had hit me with the force of a storm, much like the one that had rumbled through my life just days ago. "I know," he replied, an edge of regret haunting his expression. "I didn't want to leave. I thought about you, about us, every single day." The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, drawing emotions to the surface I had buried for so long. I wanted to believe him, to embrace the shared history we had lost, but doubt gnawed at the edges of my hope. "Why are you here now?" "I came back when I heard about everything," he said, his voice trembling. I felt the moment shift. The storm inside me rumbled anew. "Everything," I echoed, my heart pounding. Did he know about my struggles? The chaos that had ensnared my life over the last few months? He nodded slowly. "I heard about your mom. I wanted to make sure you were okay." His honesty washed over me like a balm, yet the vulnerability in his eyes was almost too much to bear. That I glanced down, the pendant in my palm feeling heavier than before. Was this the miracle I had longed for? An opportunity to reconnect, to heal? Or was it a cruel twist of fate crashing into the remnants of my fragile emotions? "Ethan," I started, before the words caught in my throat. I was teetering between the thrill of rekindled hope and the crippling fear of getting hurt again. Suddenly, a shrill cry shattered the delicate moment. My heart dropped as I turned to see a scuffle breaking out among some children playing nearby, the colorful drawings now forgotten. A little boy had stumbled, his knee scraping against the rough pavement, tears streaming down his face. In an instant, both Ethan and I rushed toward him. I knelt beside the boy, my maternal instincts kicking in, while Ethan comforted him with gentle words. "Hey there, it's all right. You're okay. Just take a deep breath." I fished out a tissue from my pocket, my heart aching at the sight of his pain. "It's going to be okay," I whispered softly, wiping away his tears. "You're so brave." And in that moment, a strange sense of solidarity enveloped us all. The boy's sobs began to quiet, replaced by curious sniffs, and Ethan and I exchanged a fleeting glance, an unspoken understanding passing between us. Life could twist and turn in unfathomable ways, but in moments like this, there was an undeniable thread of connection among us. As the boy finally regained his composure, I caught a glimpse of Ethan smiling at me. It was a small, fragile smile, yet it reverberated with the gentleness of a shared past and the promise of something new. But as quickly as that connection sparked, my heart tightened with the weight of uncertainty that I had held tightly to my pendant, the symbol of hope that had come to represent much more than just a fleeting possibility. Yet, standing here, with Ethan and the children, I felt the tug of the past entwined with the fragile threads of the present. The unknown beckoned, yet nostalgia pulled me back, leaving me wrestling with the contradictions of my heart. Just as I resolved to bridge the gap and ask Ethan about his life, a peculiar sensation washed over me. The pendant began to pulse in my hand, a steady beat that resonated in sync with the rhythm of my heart. I dropped my gaze in disbelief, only to find a strange symbol etched briefly into its surface, a mark I had never seen before. Before I could react, Ethan's eyes widened, and his expression shifted from curiosity to something deeper, more urgent. "What is that?" he whispered, stepping closer. The moment felt charged, as if the air itself held its breath. I swallowed hard, suddenly aware that whatever lay ahead was bound tightly with this connection and an uncertain future that held secrets beyond my wildest fears. Just then, a chilling breeze swept around us, carrying an echo of distant laughter, but leaving behind a sense of foreboding, an unsettling sign that revealed my journey was only just beginning. The weight of the moment pressed heavily on my chest as I held the pendant, its warmth contrasting starkly with the chill that enveloped the evening. Ethan's expression of concern sent trepidation rippling through me. I wanted to dismiss it, to sweep away the creeping shadows that whispered of mysteries I wasn't ready to confront. But the symbol burned like a brand on my mind, an inkling of something, or someone, waiting just beyond the horizon. "I don't know," I stammered, my words fleeing faster than the fleeting warmth of hope. I gingerly turned the pendant in my hand, seeking solace in its familiar contours, but now it felt foreign, almost alive. Ethan's gaze bore into mine, a mix of perplexity and understanding illuminating his features. "I've never seen anything like it, Emma," he murmured, a tremor in his voice. "Are you sure you're all right? This could mean something." The depth of his concern wrapped around me, digging deeper into the fabric of my heart, a reminder of how easily comfort and fear could intertwine. But my thoughts spiraled out of control, tracing the contours of my most recent battles, the shadows of the past looming larger with every beat of my heart. I drew in a shuddering breath, desperately attempting to ground myself. "It's just a necklace, Ethan. Just a piece of metal," I protested softly, even as an inexplicable urge clawed at me, demanding acknowledgement. His brow furrowed, doubt hovering in the space between us. "But it's not just that, is it? It feels like it's connected to something bigger, something deeper." There was a compassion in his eyes, a flicker of the boy who once jumped off the old pier with me into the sea, fearless, adventurous, alive. With shaking fingers, I cradled the pendant, turning it over, seeking understanding. My mom gave it to me, I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. Right before everything changed. The moment hung precariously, the sound of the bustling park fading into a mere echo. Ethan placed his hand atop mine, a gesture so simple, yet laced with significance. "Let us figure it out together," he said, a light threading through the darkness that had beset my thoughts. "If there's something you want to understand, something you need to, then you don't have to do it alone." For a heartbeat, I felt like perhaps, just perhaps, I could brave the uncertainties ahead with him by my side. But that spark of hope was snuffed out as swiftly as it ignited, leaving me staring into the widening chasm of my inadequacies. My past loomed like an insurmountable wall I was not ready to scale. "What if it's too late for me, Ethan?" I whispered, terror scraping at my voice. "What if I can't go back to who I was? What if I'm just broken?" The intensity of his gaze did not falter as he leaned closer. "You're not broken. You're healing. You've been through so much, but that doesn't define you. Sometimes the unshakable parts of ourselves lie in the ruins we've rebuilt." Something shifted inside me, a faint flicker of belief wavering against the odds. But I couldn't linger there too long. The shadows were relentless, encroaching around the edges of this newfound light. What if the past comes back to haunt us? My nightmares, they don't just fade away. I didn't want to think about the dark days I had clawed through, but even as I tried to push them aside, they surged uninvited and unforgiving. "I don't care about the past, Emma." His voice was firm, unwavering. "I care about you. We can face whatever comes together." His conviction wrapped around me like a shield, momentarily warding off the shadows. But even as I opened my mouth to speak, a piercing scream shattered the moment's fragile sanctuary. Voices erupted in chaos behind us, turning us back towards the playground. A little girl, no older than 6, had fallen, her arm caught beneath the weight of a heavy swing set. Panic surged through me as I surged forward, instinct propelling me to the scene. My heart raced, thrumming against my ribs. Ethan was beside me, both of us kneeling at the girl's side as her mother rushed in, fear painting her voice as she called for help. The girl's cries pierced the air like a siren, striking a familiar chord deep within me. As I held the girl's trembling hand, I felt the warmth of the pendant radiating in a way that made my heart skip. In that moment, the familiar ache of empathy melded with something more potent, a sense of purpose rising from the depths of my fear. But as help began to pour in and her mother's arms swept around her, my attention flickered to the edge of the park. There, among the thickening twilight shadows, a figure stood, observing with piercing eyes that felt unervingly familiar. My breath caught, and I turned my head, panic racing through my veins as recognition locked me in place. This was no coincidence. This was something I had been running from, someone returning to entwine their story with mine, threatening to unravel the small amount of resolve I had just begun to reclaim. I felt Ethan's hand tighten on my shoulder, a steadying presence as my world began to tilt again. But as I turned to him, the shock of realization stung like ice, because in that moment, I understood. The past was clambering back to life, its echoes demanding attention, and as I stared into the eyes of that unknown figure, I feared I might just lose everything I had fought to rebuild. The crowd began to disperse around the playground, the sounds of sirens echoing distantly, blending with the fading laughter and screams of children who were blissfully unaware of the chaos that had just unfolded. The girl clung to her mother, the familiar warmth of her sobs intertwining with the chill of dusk settling over us. I was still on my knees, the weight of the pendant heavy against my chest, a constant reminder of the precariousness of this moment. Ethan remained beside me, his presence a silent promise, though my heart pounded with questions. "Who was that?" I murmured, still gazing toward the figure lingering at the edge of the park. They hadn't moved, their silhouettes sharpened by the lights flickering from lampposts, casting shimmers of gold across the darkening world. I tried to shake off the feeling that the face lurking there was tethered to my past, an anchor I thought had finally loosed me from its grasp. "Emma, are you okay?" Ethan's voice was a rich balm against my rising pulse. I tore my gaze away and focused on him, searching for answers in his kind eyes. His worry threatened to drown me, and I didn't want him to see the fear threatening to choke my resolve. I don't know, I admitted, the vulnerability slipping from my lips like shards of glass. My chest tightened as I recalled my mother's last days, a kaleidoscope of memories swirling thick in my mind, slicing into me with every breath. Anxiety clawed like a beast wanting to break free, howling from the deepest corners of my soul. "Let us go," he said softly, trying to guide me back from the precipice of my anxiety. "We can get some air. We don't have to stay here." His steadfastness urged me into motion, and as we walked away from the scene, I felt a strange mixture of relief and loss. Just moments ago, I had felt a flicker of purpose, yet now, walking away from that little girl, I felt robbed. I ached to do something meaningful, to fill the void of my fears with action rather than retreat. We settled onto a bench away from the chaos, the park's light slowly dimming to a soft twilight that mirrored my state of mind. The air was crisp, laden with the sense of damp grass and distant rain. I traced the pendant again, feeling both its warmth and weight, a paradox reflecting my own spiraling emotions. "Emma, talk to me," Ethan encouraged, gently nudging me from my spiraling thoughts. "I know that look. I can see you're worried about something." The shadows lurking were deeper than I could articulate. "Ethan," I whispered, my heart racing with every word. What if it's coming back for me? What if that person was here for something I can't control?" His brow furrowed as he searched my gaze. "You mean the figure?" He hesitated, then added, "Do you recognize them?" I think it might be someone from my past," I breathed, trying to piece together the fog of fear. "Someone I tried to forget. If they're here, it means I haven't escaped this. It means it's all reeling back, and then we'll face it together," Ethan said, his strength encasing me like a warm embrace. "Whatever is coming, we'll confront it. That's what we'll do." A part of me craved that assurance, but I was too lost in the echoes of memories haunted by regret and sorrow. But what if I can't take it? What if it breaks me once more? My voice trembled, the edges of my vision blurring with a sudden wave of tears, frustration spilling over the edge. Ethan's hand found mine, firm and reassuring. "You're stronger than you give yourself credit for. You've endured so much already. Whatever is waiting doesn't define your story. You have the power to write it." I wanted to believe him, and perhaps with time, I could learn to embrace my past. Just then, a sudden whisper of wind tickled the back of my neck, and I turned instinctively to glance back toward the direction we had just come from. That figure still stood there, cloaked in shadows, a lone sentinel over my unraveling. "Emma," Ethan's voice sliced through, prompting me to look back at him. "Let's leave this place. I'll take you to the cafe we love. Just distract ourselves for a while." "Okay," I murmured, though the heaviness still clung to my insides like a storm brewing with dark clouds. But as we began to walk away, I felt the presence of that figure lurking behind me, an unsettling certainty that they were still watching, their purpose intertwined with mine in a way I could not yet comprehend. As we stepped out onto the street, twilight deepened into dusk. The distant call of laughter echoed from nearby shops, offering a false sense of security, while my heart thrummed with anticipation of an unknown confrontation. Perhaps this was it. Maybe the eventual reckoning was simply a breath away. Just as the lights began to flicker alive around us, a message slipped into my phone, chiming like a bell of fate. I glanced down, my breath hitching as I read the text. "I see you, Emma. It's time we talked. You can't run from what's meant to be." Hope and dread crashed together as reality sank in. This was just the beginning of a path laden with shadows, memories, and a past that refused to be ignored. The cafe's familiar warmth wrapped around me like a blanket, but it wasn't enough to chase away the chill that clung to my bones. The scent of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries barely registered as I settled into a corner booth, still grappling with the weight of the text message. It felt like a harbinger, slithering through the cracks of my heart with the promise of a storm. 2 coffees, black, and a slice of carrot cake? Ethan slid into the seat across from me, a comforting grin on his face. His attempt at normalcy felt like a balm, yet my mind thrashed wildly in turmoil. "Thanks." I forced a smile, but the corners of my mouth betrayed me and trembled instead. He placed the cup in front of me, his hands lingering just a moment longer than necessary, as if anchoring me back to the present. "You know, I never really thought much of those motivational posters," he said, forcing a lightness into his voice. but I came across one today at the office. It said, "Sometimes the smallest things take up the most room in your heart." I raised an eyebrow, a hint of amusement breaking through my dread. Is that supposed to inspire me or make me feel guilty for all the large concerns taking residence in my chest? Maybe both. He took a sip of his coffee, his gaze steady as he assessed me. But seriously, whatever is happening, whatever that text means, you're not alone in this. You can share the load. As if to mock my uncertainty, the phone buzzed again on the table, a familiar sound igniting fresh panic within me. I hesitated, the fear of what I might see swirling inside. Maybe it's just a wrong number, I suggested, attempting to convince myself more than him. Maybe, Ethan replied, though the disbelief was nonverbal and lingered in the air between us. But maybe not. What if it's someone reaching out for help? Taking a deep breath, I grabbed my phone, my heart thundering in my chest. The screen lit up again, the message stark and unyielding. "You've forgotten what we once shared, haven't you? All those promises, broken. You owe it to yourself to remember." Who is it? Emma? Ethan's concern tightened his features, and the sense of urgency hung between us. "I don't know," I breathed. "But whoever it is knows me. They know things that should be buried." My fingers trembled as I deleted the message, but I felt hollow, the echo of its words still resonating in my mind. "You need to respond," he insisted gently. "You can't let them control the narrative. Take control of your story, Emma. You've already faced so much." My heart raced as conflicting emotions warred within me. The weight of my past threatened to drown out the light I had fought to hold on to. What if it's dangerous? What if it leads to something worse? Ethan leaned closer, his voice low but fierce, a fire igniting in his eyes. "It might be dangerous, but running away has only ever left you in the dark. It's time to confront whatever it is. I'll be right here beside you." In that moment, something flickered within me, a chance to reclaim my voice rather than let it be overshadowed by fear. I took a steadying breath, my resolve slowly solidifying like clay being shaped into something unyielding. "Okay," I said, my throat tight but resolute. "I'll respond." Before I could second-guess my decision, I typed, "Who are you? What do you want?" The act felt both brave and reckless, a double-edged sword embedded deep in my heart. As I hit send, a chorus of emotions washed over me: anger, confusion, but also a sliver of hope that perhaps confronting this ghost from my past could finally shatter the grip it had on my present. I glanced up at Ethan, who was watching me intently, pride mingling with his concern. The moment was shattered by another unexpected twist. My phone buzzed once more. I opened the message and felt the air rush from my lungs. Staring back at me was a photograph, a faded snapshot that sent 1,000 memories crashing through my mind. A younger version of myself stood with a group of friends, one of whom wore a familiar smile that once felt like home, but now felt like a betrayal. "No, it can't. TB, I whispered, a cold hand wrapping around my heart. I looked up at Ethan, a mix of disbelief and fear etched across my face. "Emma, what is it?" His voice snapped me back to reality, but the weight of the photograph was like an anchor dragging me back into a storm I thought I had escaped. That's Alex." I could hardly form the words, my voice trembling. He was supposed to be dead. Ethan's eyes widened, shadows from the past merging with the present as he realized the implications. "Emma, what does this mean?" A silence stretched between us, as thick as the uncertainty that loomed above. The world around me faded, the cafe blending into the background, a dull murmur as my heart raced. I could feel the walls closing in, the air growing dense with the weight of revelations waiting to unravel. And then, the final message chimed, vibrating through the depths of my anxiety. "You thought you could bury us, but we're connected forever. This isn't over." Not yet. The truth loomed closer than I had ever anticipated, strands of my past weaving into my present in ways I could never have imagined. And with that revelation hanging perilously overhead, I was left teetering on the brink of an emotional cliff. The cafe faded entirely into the background as I stared at the photograph of Alex, my mind racing with the implications of his unexpected reemergence. The chaos of emotions swirled within relief that he was alive, horror over what that meant for my carefully constructed life, and a deep-rooted fear that my past was rising to consume me once more. "Emma," Ethan's voice broke through my fog. "What do you want to do?" His question seemed impossibly vast, echoing the chasm opening beneath me. I can't think. My heart drummed loudly in my ears, and I hunched over the table, overwhelmed. What does he want? Why now? A pang of memory struck me like a lightning bolt. Alex and I had once shared laughter, whispers of dreams, and promises that now tasted bitter on my tongue. But then those dreams had been shattered, leaving only fragments of guilt and anguish. How could he return now? Ethan leaned in closer, his expression a comforting blend of concern and steadfastness. We know what he was to you, but he is not the only one with power in this situation. You've built a new life, Emma. Don't let this pull you back into darkness. With shallow breaths, I processed his words, still holding the startling photograph. I felt torn as if tethered between two lifetimes all at once. But what if he is not safe? What if he is dangerous? Then we'll figure it out together. Ethan reassured me, his voice steady. This is your journey. You're stronger than you think. And if something feels off, you don't have to engage. Just promise you won't handle this all alone. I nodded, the warmth of his presence grounding me even as the storm raged within. In that moment, I regretted the countless nights I had spent in isolation, convinced that facing my past meant handing over the reins of my life. But sitting here now, with Ethan beside me, I felt an inkling of what it meant to share life's burdens. And yet, before I could communicate my resolve, my phone buzzed again. The screen illuminated a new text that sent chills through my body. You're not the only one who came back, Emma. Are you ready to face all of us? Panic surged like wildfire. As memories of my old life flooded back fears, sorrows, an unending tapestry of unfinished business, I realized I was not just confronting Alex, but possibly others as well. People from my past, buried beneath years of neglect. What is it? Ethan probed gently. What is happening? It's not just Alex. I managed to breathe out, glancing back to the photograph. Familiar faces stared back at me, some smiling brightly, others twisted in shadows of memories that I dared not revisit. There are more people. I can't fight them all. It's impossible. Ethan placed a steady hand over mine, his warmth seeping into my trembling skin. Not if you don't have to fight. What if you reached out? Talk to them? You could unearth everything that has been buried. Talk to them? With what? I asked, voice rising in disbelief. They're ghosts. There's stitches in my past that I've tried to pull away from. I can't just what if they're not ghosts anymore. He interrupted gently, a spark of conviction in his eyes. What if they're just people who've been waiting for you? The notion of reaching out felt like standing on the edge of a precipice. Beneath lay a churning sea of doubt and pain. But perhaps beneath that ocean was a glimpse of solace, or at the very least, understanding that I bit my lip, half tempted to retreat to the comfort of silence that had haunted me for so long. But Ethan's unwavering gaze pierced through my hesitance. For the first time in years, the thought of facing my past didn't seem wholly monstrous. Okay, I finally said, though my voice was barely a whisper. I'll try, but I need more time. This isn't going to just go away. Ethan nodded, a sense of pride in his eyes mingled with a spark of worry. Take all the time you need. Just remember, I'll be here. Don't let them overwhelm you. But as I sat there, feeling emotionally exposed and vulnerable, another text arrived. It was a message I had feared and a sentiment I thought I had. Buried forever. Remember, Emma, you're never alone in this. We're always with you. My pulse quickened, and I looked to Ethan, the panic returning. What does that mean? Who are we? I don't know, he said softly, his eyes grave, but we need answers. Meeting them could be dangerous, but you're not in this alone. We finished our coffees unsteadily, my hand shaking beneath Ethan's reassuring grip. In that moment of fragile determination, I knew that whatever the outcome, the struggle ahead would be woven with hope and terror, stitched together by the threads of connections yet to be fully unveiled. As we left the cafe, the world outside felt changed. Shadows lengthened, and the weight of the unknown loomed over me like a storm cloud. But as panic clawed at my chest, there was a sudden clarity. I was alive, and whatever was coming, the choice to face it was imprinted within me. The echoes of my past screamed for attention, and for the first time in a long while, I was ready to listen. And then the final message came, a chilling whisper that sent tremors through me. You think you're stronger? Just wait. You might not make it out alive. With those words hanging heavy in the air, I stepped forward. The depth of my uncertainty may have been overwhelming, but at that moment, I was ready to confront whatever waited in the shadows. The weeks that followed were spent navigating the treacherous waters of my tumultuous past with more fervor than I thought I could muster. Ethan became my anchor, always present, his unwavering support allowing me to inch closer to the ghosts that haunted my memories. Each small victory returning a call, recognizing a face on social media felt monumental, yet they were laden with an underlying tension I couldn't shake. The messages continued to come, each one sharper than the last, echoing the ominous undertones of the final text I had received. "You're never alone in this. We're always with you." They were a blend of enticement and threat, luring me back into an embrace wrapped in nostalgia, yet stained with foreboding. I couldn't help but feel their presence looming like an uninvited shadow behind me. As I sat in my small apartment late one night, flicking through the photographs of happier days when laughter came easier, the light from my phone danced in the otherwise dark room. I hesitated before answering an unknown number, my heart racing with assumptions of who might be on the other end. "Emma?" A familiar voice broke through the hesitation, sending a jolt of recognition. "Maya?" I breathed, unable to mask the shock. Maya was my childhood best friend, someone I thought lost forever to the flames of time and circumstance. "Yes, I need to talk to you. It's important." I swallowed hard, still reeling from the unexpected contact. "What is going on? Can we meet?" She interjected, a nervous urgency in her tone. "I'll explain everything, but it's dangerous. I can't say more over the phone." An electric tension coiled in my gut. I shared a glance with Ethan, who had been lounging on the couch, engrossed in a book, but lifted his gaze in an instant, catching the exchange. With a silent nod of encouragement, I felt compelled to trust, both in Maya and in myself. "All right," I replied cautiously. "Where?" We agreed to the old diner where we had shared countless fries and secrets as teenagers. The moment I stepped inside, memories swirled like vapor around me, instilling both warmth and regret. The jukebox played a soft tune, and I positioned myself in a booth toward the back, the ambience draping me in the safety of familiarity despite the uncertainty that gnawed at my nerves. Minutes felt like lifetimes before she entered, looking the same yet different, as though time had molded her into an entirely new being. There was a hesitance in her step, like she was approaching a battlefield rather than a simple diner. "Maya," I breathed, the name slipping out like a breath of fresh air. "Emma." She reached across the table, and I took her hand, feeling the warmth and weight of every day spent apart. After a moment, she glanced around, her brows knitted with concern. "I'm sorry for not reaching out sooner," she began, her voice trembling with anxiety. "After everything that happened, I thought it was best to leave." I interrupted, a mix of relief and resentment rising to the surface. "You left us all, Maya." "Emma, you don't understand," she implored, panic stepping into her voice. "There were reasons. We were all in danger, but I wasn't brave like you. I didn't know how to fight. You still could have come back." I shot back, feeling anger surface unbidden. You didn't even care." Tears glimmered in her eyes, and it took everything in me not to pull back. "Of course I cared. I've carried this guilt for years. I thought you were better off without me. But now it's all unraveling. There are people involved, people from our past sleeping giants who come awake, Emma. And they're not just watching, they're coming." Shivers skated down my spine. "Coming for what?" "For us." She leaned forward, urgency igniting her tone. "You received messages, didn't you? Those weren't random. They're reaching out because they want something from you. From all of us. I thought we could possibly, Maya. I can't handle this," I exclaimed, the weight of her words cascading around me. The shadows lurking in my mind bulked larger as more pieces of the past crashed into my present. I thought I could start anew, not drag everyone back into this mess. "This is not just about the past," she insisted, her voice strained. "This is about survival, about breaking cycles. We need to address what we buried, and if we don't, it's not just a choice. It's a matter of life and death." Her fevered explanation electrified the air. I was both terrified and fascinated by the prospect of uncovering the layered truth of our shared history. Every moment I had spent in denial surged to the forefront of my mind, revealing paths I dared not walk before. Ethan's presence grounded me, Yet suddenly there he was, appearing in the doorway, his expression a mix of confusion and concern. In a heartbeat, my world felt fragmented, reality splintering into paths I couldn't understand. Everything hinged on this uncertain reunion that felt eerily orchestrated, a reunion that pulled others into the web that I was only beginning to comprehend. Shall we see how deep the rabbit hole goes? Maya's eyes glinted with desperation and hope, but the urgency that lurked in her voice cautioned against it. I don't know that I want to drag anyone into this, Maya, I whispered, heart slamming against my ribcage. Not when I have so much to lose. But as I met Ethan's gaze, a pang of anguish swept through me. Maybe in confronting the shattered remains of our past, we could finally liberate ourselves from the unyielding grip of the shadows. The eyes of the past bore down upon us as I looked toward Maya, that unexpected glimmer of courage whispering that the unveiling of deeper truths might lead to unexpected unity. Just as I was about to respond, the lights flickered, casting the room in shadows, and then my phone vibrated violently in my pocket. Emma, it begins now. You can't escape your fate. The room constricted around me, dread blooming with every second. Time stretched, twisting moments of hope and fear into an intricate tapestry of choice, but I knew one thing. The journey was about to become a dance with the darkness I thought I could outrun, and I wasn't sure what would greet us on the other side. As the message blinked on my screen, my heart plummeted into an abyss of uncertainty. You can't escape your fate. The weight of the words echoed like an ominous chant, threatening to collapse the fragile foundation I had been struggling to build. I glanced at Maya, whose eyes widened in comprehension, and then at Ethan, who appeared both alert and ready to act, ready to shield me from whatever the world outside our small diner threatened to unleash. Maya, who are they? I blinked away tears that threatened to spill as fear coiled around my throat. What are they capable of? Before she could respond, I felt a gentle touch on my shoulder. Ethan's hand, warm and reassuring, sent a wave of calm through my anxiety-ridden body. He leaned closer, his presence a silent promise that I was not alone in this chaos. We'll face this together, he whispered, his tone unwavering. But as I turned back to Maya, I saw something flicker in her expression, an uncertainty that cut through my reassurances. I don't know everything, she admitted quietly, her voice barely rising above the hum of the diner. But please, you both need to trust me. The ones who reached out to you, they know things. Dangerous things. It's my fault for not warning you sooner. A surge of anger rose within me again. How could she ask for my trust when she had walked away all those years ago? Why do I need to trust you now after all this? I couldn't hold back the bitterness in my voice. You left me at my worst. Emma, I know, she said, anguish seeping into her words. And I hate myself for it. But I'm here now because I realized running won't save us. The past is clawing its way back in, and we could either collapse under its weight, or we could fight back. Something deep within me stirred, battling against my instincts. A small flicker of hope beckoned from the darkness. Perhaps there was a way to reclaim not just my own life, but also the pieces we had all lost when our childhood was shattered. The memory of laughter and freedom felt distant, but suddenly, surrounded by echoes of our shared past, I sensed the fragments yearning for resolution. I thought of the countless nights I had spent spiraling into despair, losing sight of who I was. Maybe confronting the truths that lay buried was the key to unearthing the strength I felt slipping away to as I contemplated this. The buzz of my phone interrupted my thoughts, and I fumbled to read the new message lighting up the screen. Find me. The answers lie in the ashes. A chill raced down my spine as it registered. I thought of everything I had tried to leave behind, the fire that had consumed so much of our lives, a burning reminder of loss. It was as though I could feel the weight of the past pressing against my shoulders, a thick fog of regret that clung like smoke in the air. I can't go back to that place, I said, my voice trembling. The fire, it took my family, my friends. I can't see it again. But Maya's expression softened, an empathetic gaze resting on me like a warm blanket amidst the chill of dread surrounding our conversation. No one is asking you to do it alone, she promised. We faced the fire together this time. We can reclaim what was lost. Ethan gripped my hand tighter, his unwavering faith igniting the embers of courage flaring within me. But uncertainty still loomed. Where do we even begin? I asked, my voice a fragile thread. The old mill, Maya replied, her words cautious yet threaded with determination. It's where everything started. If answers exist, it's there among the charred remains. The mention of the mill sent a fresh wave of panic rushing through me. I hadn't revisited that site. It was a place woven into my nightmares, a haunting silhouette against the backdrop of my dreams. But now, as it emerged from the shadows, I felt its draw, a channel back to the life and friendships that had been engulfed in flames. And then, startlingly, I thought of my mother and the way she had gripped my hand the night everything changed, as if imparting courage through that final touch. I had buried the weight of her loss beneath layers of self-preservation, but now I felt the push to dig deep, to unearth the truths that had been silenced for too long. Okay, I breathed, almost under my breath, feeling my heart synchronize with a newfound sense of clarity. But we must be careful, Maya. Whatever or whoever awaits, we won't allow it to fragment us further. Maya and I will be your shield, Ethan affirmed, his eyes steady. We'll navigate through this darkness. Together. Exhilaration rippled through me, a wave of gratitude flooding my senses. A glimmer of light had ignited amidst the gathering storm. Perhaps this was the rebirth I never thought I could have. If I delved into the remnants of our shared tragedy, maybe I could emerge from the ashes reborn. But as we departed the diner, shadows seemed longer, and the air thick with the whisper of our haunting past. Just then, my senses tingled with awareness, and I looked at Maya searching for reassurance, for connection. But to my surprise, she was looking past me, eyes suddenly widening in horror. Emma, don't turn around, she warned, the gravity of her tone wrapping around me like an icy tendril. What? I hesitated, yet instinct took over. I whipped around, pulse racing, my heart pounding as I faced a figure standing just outside the diner, someone clad in a dark coat, their face obscured by the hood. But there was no mistaking the piercing glare piercing right through me. In that moment, reality twisted. My breath hitched painfully in my throat. It was as if the air had been snatched away, leaving us suspended in the grip of unrelenting fear and the chilling possibility that the past had returned to claim what it felt was owed. Emma. The voice emerged from the figure, low and haunting, a name that sent echoes of familiarity racing through my veins. And with that single utterance, the dance with darkness had begun, and I could no longer pretend to be anything but a mere pawn caught in a game far greater than myself. I sat across the table from Maya, the atmosphere thick with tension as the figure outside the diner loomed over us, casting a long shadow that felt like a specter reaching into the depths of my fears. I recognized that voice, a chill creeping down my spine, spinning memories that had long been consigned to the dark. Emma, it repeated, that name dripping with a familiarity that made my heart stop and my pulse race simultaneously. Memories began flooding back, some sweet, layered with laughter, others sharp and stinging, filled with the bittersweet taste of betrayal. Maya, I whispered, panic tightening my chest. Who is that? But my words seemed futile, a dull echo against the cacophony of my heart battling to keep pace with the fear wrapping around me like barbed wire. I wanted to look away, to shield myself from this unfolding dread, but I didn't have the strength. The door creaked open, and the figure stepped inside, revealing a face that once held warmth and joy but now seemed like a mask of anger and hurt. I remembered the laughter they once brought, the bond that wrapped tightly around our hearts, but the sight of them now beseeched only panic. It was Alex. Alive. Emma, he said again, moving toward our booth with a slow grace that bore the weight of unspoken words. It's been a long time. The familiar name fell from his lips like poison, and every memory came rushing back, colliding with the reality of my present. What do you want? I shot back, my voice tremulous with all the power I could muster against the flood of emotions. The air felt electric, charged with the remnants of our shared history, the joy, the betrayal, the ashes. You have no idea how much you've hurt all of us. You think I wanted this? He retorted, his eyes flaring with something that looked like regret mingled with anger. You think this is easy for me? Do you think I wanted to disappear? Then why did you? I pressed, a need to confront my past filling my chest with heat. Did you think abandoning me would keep me safe? What have you done? For a moment, the air between us thickened, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. I could see the shadows lurking in his gaze, remnants of the past weaving a story only we could decipher. "Understand this," he began, and his voice softened. "I had no choice. They're coming for us all, Emma. The past isn't as dead as we thought." I faltered then, that flickering sense of dread intertwining with something more profound, a fleeting sense of understanding. Just as quickly, the sharp awareness of how much had been lost in the years of silence felt like a suffocating grasp deepening its hold. "Maya," I turned to her, desperate eyes searching for answers. You knew all along. It wasn't my place to intervene," Maya argued, her voice trembling as she stood between us. "I thought I was protecting you, protecting all of us." The charge of revelation swept through me as realization brushed up against all the memories I had buried. "What happened that night?" I breathed, grounding myself in that moment, half afraid they would vanish before my eyes. The past threatened to swallow us whole, and as Alex met my gaze, it was as if the floodgates had opened. "There was a fire," he said softly, "one that took more than just buildings. I thought we agreed never to talk about it." Maya interjected with harshness, but the gravity of the situation demanded attention now. Alex stepped closer, vulnerability softening the edge of his voice. "We were naive, Emma. This is my fault, too. I thought if I stayed away, I could protect you from what was coming." The sting of anger mixed with the understanding seeped deeper into my soul, broken dreams mingling with fears of something I couldn't quite articulate. "What are you saying?" They returned. He confessed, the weight of his words pressing against my chest. "All of them. They come back to reclaim what they lost, and they'll do anything to get it." Just then, the shadows from outside the diner darkened, creeping further towards us. I glanced to the door, apprehension blooming as I realized that the unseen forces from my past were materializing around us. I felt Maya's hand clutching mine tightly, the warmth serving as both a beacon of support and a tether to pull me back from the abyss. "Emma," Alex's voice cut through the silence, filled with a mix of urgency and desperation. "We need to confront this together. You can't run anymore. We need each other." A swell of conflicted emotions threatened to drown me. Trust and betrayal waged war in my mind as the erratic beats of my heart mirrored the chaos swirling just beyond the diner walls. "Why should I trust you?" I finally confronted him, my voice breaking only slightly. "After everything?" "Because I am here," he implored, earnestness shadowing his eyes. "You deserve to know the truth. We can't change what happened, but together, we can change what is happening now." The air crackled around us, the dichotomy of fear and hope pulsating as though it possessed a life of its own. For every wound the past carved into my heart, Alex's return held the weight of potential healing. I glanced at Maya, uncertainty tangled in my gut. What if he is right? What if he isn't? She countered quietly. "This is your choice, Emma. Only you can decide if you want to face them again, if you want your story rewritten." Facing the reality of my past was daunting, yet I could feel the dawning realization take root within me. I had spent too long running from shadows rather than facing them. "Okay," I finally said, a tremble of defiance weaving through my words. "Let us talk." But the moment settled beneath the weight of an unspoken truth, the hatred and love intermixed like strands of a tangled web. As I finally breathed deeply, bracing myself for the oncoming storm, I glimpsed a flicker of movement in the doorway. Shadows began to form, darting toward us with a ferocity that left my breath hitching in my throat. "Emma," Alex whispered urgently, "they've found us." The world began to spiral, kaleidoscopic images of the past and present intertwining, their intentions looming like the electrifying thrum of an unrelenting storm. Time stretched, the pulse of my heart matching the weight of fate pressing down. "Together," I whispered, squeezing Maya's and Alex's hands. "Together." And then, in a blinding rush, as everything I had worked to protect slipped away, I stepped forward to face the past I thought I had buried. A resolve ignited deep within me, a powerful resolve weaving its way through the fear coiling like smoke around my heart. It was now or never. All the scars would converge into this moment, a moment where shadows dared to confront the light. A final, powerful confrontation that would not only decide our fates, but redefine what it meant to finally heal and come home. As the door creaked open, The darkness spilled into the diner, and I steadied my breath. No more running, I vowed to myself, feeling the strength of my companions at my side. Because in the end, no matter the cost, I would find a way to embrace both the past and the future. I would be whole again. And with that, I stepped into the unfolding storm, where every heartbeat felt like a prayer, a song of resilience blazing a path toward the unknown. The final showdown of shadows awaited, and with the synergy of hope and courage, I would emerge into the light. Let us end this, together.